So the US calls itself the world's super cop, globo cop, but it can't get its act together at home. Why? Joining me now, Puneet Ahluwalia is an Indian-American businessman who's been connected in the past with the Democratic Party. Also joining me is Prakash Shah, member of the Democratic Party. Appreciate both of you joining me at the moment. Prakash Shah, we had the US President saying, virtually almost sounding helpless, suggesting, when are we going to get your act together? In the US, 213 mass shootings this year alone, 10 attacks a week, 30 shootings in elementary schools, over 30 deaths in school shooting, and the US President can do nothing but hand-wringing.
Thank you for having me, Rajdeep. I totally agree with you. It's the fault of our system. We really need to get our act together, and we haven't done that repeatedly. These incidents keep happening. This proliferation of weapons everywhere. There is absolutely no need to
the National Rifles Association or groups connected who help them and sponsor the election. Mr. Ahluwalia, do you believe...
I totally agree with you, and it's so frustrating.
You know, you say it's frustrating.
And in fact, there is a majority of people who are in favor of these regulations. And yet it is not happening because of the power of the National Rifle Association. And this is really very, very bad. And it really hurts us. Each time when this happens, it really bothers so many of us.
Let me bring in Mr. Ahluwalia. Mr. Ahluwalia, is all that's going to happen in the United States hand-wringing? We don't have a backbone, we are not getting our act together, but at the end of the day, gun control is in deep freeze because the fact is that there are enough senators who today are unwilling to take on the gun lobby.
Rajdeep, first thing is, thank you for having me on your show. I'm a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, and I believe in the constitutional right of the Second Amendment of owning, ability to own firearms. First thing, it's very tragic. It's horrible what happened. Our hearts go to the families who've lost their loved ones, and not a word can express their loss and grief. But this is a different debate. If you think the lobby is that strong, that the senators or the leadership is unable to move this pivot on gun control. But just I want to correct Mr. Shah. We have an ample of laws, and we have regulations. But as you know, Rajdeep, that the bad actors or the bad players do not play by the same rules. What happens is people like us who are law-abiding citizens who would like to have the ability to protect ourselves in circumstances like these, that we can protect ourselves with the guns. But more importantly, we do have laws, and the people of America at every given moment have supported the ability to protect themselves. And I'll give you a reason. It's the policies of Biden's administration which is basically leading to defunding of the mental health services, defunding of the police, and the inability for the school system to have enough funds because the money is going more to pay for the school unions rather than fixing the school and having security for our kids. That's where the problem is.
Are you saying, no, 1 minute, Mr. Ahluwalia, you can't say, are you telling me every primary school now will have to have the kind of security that is required to stop these guns? I mean, but the real problem is the number of guns that are floating around. I'm looking at per capita, the amount of guns that exist in America compared to any other country in the world. There are just far too many. So guns per 100 person. Just look at those numbers. You're way ahead of anyone else in the world.
Rajdeep, we have 5 guns in our own home. So let's not go there.
So why?
No, why not? We have the ability to protect us. I'll give you an answer. Between the time you call the police officer and then you have a bad actor in your house or somebody trying to rob your home, it's between those 2 to 3 minutes you have the ability to protect yourself and your family. Because after the police comes, it's too late. So that's the reason we also believe very importantly in the Second Amendment. And I'll give you the reason why that is. The day the government starts taking away our guns, we don't become citizens anymore. We become subjects. And that's the reason why we have seen in countries where the genocide has happened, including in India, in '84 riots, when the Sikhs were disarmed, their swords were taken, their guns were taken, the mob came into their home, they killed them, raped them, burned them alive. This is the way we as individual citizens can protect ourselves against atrocities or the overreach of the government, at the same time from marauding mobs. And almost 2 months ago, or 2 years ago, when there were mobs in DC and in Tyson's Corner, looting and robbing shops, the reason why some of these mobs did not come into communities and homes, because they know we were armed. And you
Okay.
come to our home, we will shoot, we'll fight back and shoot back. That's the importance of the Second Amendment.
Okay, that's one view. Mr. Shah, you have a very different view, and therefore, unfortunately, in the United States, you're going to continue to find yourself racked by what is a polarizing debate in which a lot of young people are losing their lives at the moment. Mr. Shah, Mr. Ahluwalia, I appreciate your joining me. You want to make a final point? Yes, Mr. Shah, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I think basically we cannot keep blaming individuals. Individuals are everywhere in the world, and yet it is only in the United States that this type of thing is happening. So we have to recognize, understand our problem, and solve our problem. And the majority of the people, 89%, are in favor of taking some action. So at least some action has to be taken. We cannot just keep on pretending that, oh, this happened or that happened, or this guy's fault or that guy's fault. The system
Mr. Shah,
is
the people of
and we have to
America
accept
believe in guns, and that's the reason both Democrats and Republicans have guns. Thank you, Rajdeep, for having us.
Thank you both very much for joining me here on the news today.